Well, Simon, I am really excited to be with you. We're going to be recording today a series of short conversations about leadership to try to draw out some more of the amazing kind of salty practical wisdom that you have and I know has really helped a lot of people. So we've got several topics we want to talk about and we're going to see where it goes. And notoriously, you've said you don't know what we're going to talk about because you're an external processor.
That is very true.
But let's start with this whole idea of leadership because there's been comments and conversations over recent years that the Western church has kind of been hijacked a little bit by an obsession with leadership that's born more out of the business world than from the scriptures. So first of all, let's talk about what is a leader's job? Is leader even a helpful term when it comes to Christian ministry? And we'll see where we go from there. So.
Okay, no, that's good. I think leadership is very important. I mean, I think we have got a bit caught up in the leader. And I think that's one of the dangers is that we spot a problem, a real problem, and that problem can often be quite specific, but then what we come up with is a kind of blanket answer. So, as you said then, do we need leadership? Well, we do need leadership. Do we need leaders who all operate in the same way and in the same style? Is there only one type of leader? And should the church just adopt the most popular leadership style from the world in any given season? The answer to that is probably no. But do we need leadership? Yes. Organizations need leadership. The Bible is full of leadership from Genesis chapters 1 and 2 when God commissions Adam and Eve together to be leaders. Rule over the earth and subdue it. Now, those words in English could instantly conjure up pictures of authoritarian, abusive, structured, heavy-handed leadership. In the Hebrew, those words are about husbandry and care and creativity. And so we do need leadership. It's in the Bible. God uses leaders all the time. If you look at the books of 1 and 2 Samuel, book of Judges, look at 1 and 2 Kings, 1 and 2 Chronicles, which really talk about leadership through the people of God, we're constantly seeing good leader, bad leader. Well, often we're seeing good leader, bad leader, bad leader, bad leader, bad leader, all right leader, bad leader, good leader. And the reality is that the people are blessed when there is good leadership and when there is leadership. So, yes, we need leadership. Do churches need a big platform leader all the time? I don't know. And has that been our model for quite a long time? Well, yes, it has. And very often, if we have a successful church or even a successful organisation, if we broaden that out a little bit, we often focus the attention or the reasons for that success on that one individual. Whereas we know that that one individual represents a whole load of teams, a whole load of structures, a whole load of processes, a whole load of history, and it's the combination of those things that has brought success. And I think what we need to do is we need to get back to better team leadership. I think we need to remember again those of us who are leading the team. So to my mind, the very best form of leadership is you lead as team, and within that team there is a leader of that team. So I would try to say all the time, so I've just become the leader of a church, again, just been voted in. And when people say to me, oh, you now lead the church, I try to say, I lead the team that leads this church. Because that's the truth. I do lead the team. If within the team, if someone has to make a call, if someone has to put an agenda together, I will do that. I'll lead that team. And teams work better when they are led. That's my experience. But we need to get back to team. And those of us who are leading teams need to remember what I would say are the two golden principles of leadership, especially within the church, and that's worship and service. So if you say to me, what is leadership in the church? Well, firstly, it's worship. Leadership is a gift. Some people have it, some people don't. That's just the reality. And it's the same as any other gift. It is a gift. My family are all singers. Now, they've worked on their voices, but it's a gift. Both my children from very early on could sing the right note at the right time and could sing harmonies and things like this. And no one taught them at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 how to do that. That was a gift. They work on that gift and they use it for worship. Similarly, I do think leadership is a gift. And people have that gift in varying degrees and you can work on that, but it is a gift. And if that's a gift, To lead well is an act of worship. I want to lead well, yes, so that people are blessed, but ultimately, because God has given me something, and I want to do my very best with what he has given me for his glory, to make people look at God, to look at Jesus, look at the Holy Spirit. And so it's worship. And then it doesn't matter whether I'm leading something that someone might think is significant or insignificant. It's not about platform then. It's not about am I opening the Bible for my life group or am I opening the Bible for 1,000 people at a conference. It doesn't matter because it's not about the platform. I want to do it really well in both settings because I'm trying to glorify God in my gift. And then alongside that, it's about service. It's about serving the people who you have been entrusted to lead. It's about going last. I will say to leaders, Christian leaders, well, as a Christian leader, you die at least twice. You die as a Christian, you die to self. And then if you pick up leadership, you die again. Because you're not there so that people can look at you and go, oh, wow. You're there to serve, you're there to equip, you're there to encourage, you're there to empower, you're there to release, you're there to help them be the best them they can be and raise their profile, not raise your profile. And if you recognise team, if you recognise that as a leader of a team it's about worship and service, and if you recognise organisations need leading, those boundaries will help you and possibly stop us getting to some of the places we've got historically. I don't know if that's helpful.
Historically or currently, given the conversations that are going on, our culture seems to be increasingly a protest culture against leadership that's in the church. So I think we're used to increasing the language of privilege, and to see a leader, you see someone with privilege, which we think means power, and we think power means problem. And actually the experience that you kind of alluded to there of when you decide to lead something, it's actually an experience of death, not power. But at the same time, power comes with it because you're making decisions that shape other people's lives by the way that the things that you're discussing and deciding. You're on a platform at a church preaching and you've got the attention of hundreds of people. So there's a privilege and a power there which doesn't sound like death. And so a lot of people, when they see leaders, they don't see men and women who died. They see men and women who look like they're promoted and self-promoted. And also, again, my experience of being a leader is often it feels quite lonely because not many people have that experience in church life, and you kind of the number of friends that you feel you can share openly about some of the struggles you're going through dwindles as well. Talk to us about just that dynamic of, is it privilege or is it death? Or is it both?
I think that there are levels of leadership that come with a level of privilege. You can get affirmation from leading. There's no doubt about that. So I like talking, and I like talking in front of people. And sometimes when you do that, people come up to you and go, "That was really helpful." Or I've got one lovely lady in my church who really likes how I preach. God bless her. And so she'll often say, "Oh, I wish I could speak like you, Simon." And of course, there's although you go, "Oh no," inside there's that little bit of, "Oh yeah." And so there is that, and you battle that all the time. But actually, it's okay to receive that as long as your identity is not in that. As long as that's not why you are doing it. So if that becomes the foundation of your leadership, you're then in trouble. Because then what you're doing is you're building your leadership on that privilege. Yeah? Is it a privilege to lead? Is it a privilege to stand up and for people to actually listen to you, or at least look like they're listening to you? Yes. But I think you have to guard yourself against that becoming your reason for leading. And also guard other people. So I think you then get into the whole issue of what culture are you creating as a leader. Because yes, you're right, Jez, leaders often feel lonely. But I've felt lonely in leadership at times. I don't now, and I think possibly because I've worked hard on creating a culture of authenticity. Now that's a very trendy word at the moment. We want everybody to be authentic, as long as your authenticity doesn't offend me. But you can create a culture in any organisation, but especially in a church, where you can demystify that, where you can say it's not about a platform, and you do that from the platform. You do that, I think, by being honest, by being appropriately vulnerable on the platform by reminding people that you are just like them. Paul is so helpful in many ways, but when he articulates the church as a body with Christ as the head, that is incredibly helpful. And you have to, I think, in leadership, keep reminding the church that that is the case. That actually the person on the platform is not the head of the church. The person on the platform is a finger or a hand or a hair or an ear. It's part of the body. And if that platform leadership, if we focus on, if platform leadership is done well, the body thrives. But equally, if the person welcoming on the door does their job well, the church thrives. And in fact, more people leave a church because someone's impolite towards them on the door, or join a church because they're welcomed on the door well, than because of the first sermon they hear in the church. And I think what you can do is recognize the privilege. Gosh, this is a privilege. Not build on that so that it becomes an entitlement. Yeah, I should have a nice seat. I should have more money than everybody else. I should have a parking space. People should listen to me. You have to guard yourself against entitlement, and you have to create a culture that says, is it important? Yes. Is it more important than what our kids team are doing, what our prayer team are doing, what our life group leaders are doing, what our logistics team are doing? No, it is the same. They are all as important. And you do that very practically by calling out people and naming them. So if you're the one on the platform, you make sure you are regularly sharing that platform. It's not always you. And also from the platform, pointing out all the time. So I would try and regularly thank and honour other ministries, other roles within the organisation, within the church, publicly, and make other people do that. Let's stand up our tech team right now and let's applaud them. They've done a great job today. Hopefully not in a patronising way, but in a way, and you do that regularly, so you're kind of undercutting that hierarchy that's so quickly developed. Does that help?
Yeah, it does. It's hard to know. I agree with the principles. It's hard to know when that's overstepped and you are getting your identity from your leadership until that seems to be questioned or threatened or challenged.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that people are okay with leadership on one level. It's the lack of accountability that they sometimes see in leaders.
Yeah.
They won't make themselves open to criticism, or
Yes.
leaders are like everyone else. We get defensive when criticised.
Yep.
Our instinct
Yep.
reaction is defensiveness. So how do you create environments where we don't cover up mistakes or hide our blushes,
Yeah, nice.
but we're very open and honest, and we invite criticism without inviting people to just punch us, which is exhausting as well. Pastors are notoriously good targets, I was going to say, are regularly sharing how they get kind of criticised in that sense. So what are your reflections on that?
I mean, that's a big subject. For my 30-second answer would again, you build team and you give people permission. So I don't think it's wise as any leader to give everybody all access permission. Yeah? If you've got any issue with me, come and tell me. I did that with my team, leading a youth team very early on in my leadership. It took me about a year to recover. Because I just went, you can tell me anything. And they did. And most of it was true. And all of it hurt. And I wasn't at the stage then when I knew that they really loved me. So I talk, again, language we do, Muppet friends. So you have Muppet friends, you have people who you know love you enough to tell you the truth. And you've got to know they love you. So my wife would be Gwen would be one of my Muppet friends. I know if Gwen challenges me on something, it is only for my good. Because she loves me, you know. And what I try and do, and what I encourage people to do, is create a team around you of people who you have given permission to say anything pretty much at any time, and encourage everybody in your organisation to have those sorts of people. So you're not creating this free-for-all of anybody can say anything to anyone, but you are creating a culture where everybody has someone who can say anything to them. And if you do that as a team, and if the organisation, the church, see that operating in a team, they relax. And they think, okay, I think Simon is responding well to that. I don't need to say it because I know that person. I know David's saying it, or James is saying it, or Dave's saying it, you know, whoever it is. And I think that helps you. And letting the church know that you have that. Does that help? So you create team not just to lead the church well, but to help you lead yourself well. And sometimes you have to give permission. So sometimes as a leader, and I think historically in our organisations, there's been a high level of honour for leadership, which has meant people haven't said. And so if you are the leader, you are the one who has to give permission. You have to say, Jez, if you ever see this in me, I want you to tell me. Yeah? You know, please risk it. And often I'll say to people, I will respond badly. But I'll come back to you quickly. Because I'm an external processor. Like you said, we all get defensive. Yeah? So if you come to me and say, Simon, I saw you speak at that conference, you were a bit entitled. You were a bit proud. Yeah, I noticed you kind of cut off a few people who wanted to talk to you because you were at the platform. You say that to me, my initial response will be defensive because you've almost certainly said something to me that's true. You said something I know I did and I hope no one noticed. So my initial response, when I was 15, it would have taken me 3 months to come back to you. Now it'll probably take me about 3 minutes. But I will, yeah, you're right. Yeah, tell me what I did. And I think you give people permission to do that, and the more you do it, the easier it gets. So I think that's what I do.
That's really helpful. And how important, therefore, is it for leaders to own mistakes? And how do you own a mistake well?
You confess quick. So, I mean, I was speaking on the academy recently, and because I'm an external processor, I'll come off my notes quite often, and often to use humour. And I made a comment in the moment that was really funny. People laughed, okay? But I also heard myself say it and knew it was an inappropriate comment. And at the end of the session, before we moved on, I said, I did this. You laughed. Some of you didn't notice. It was funny, but it was also wrong. And I want to apologise now for saying it and let you know, because it was being videoed, I said, and we will edit it out of the video because it shouldn't be in there. Now, I've not always done that, but that is a recent example of just going, actually, I need to own this right now because I know. And what helped me was there was a person in the room and I caught their eye as I said it, and their face told me that wasn't a good thing to say. I was so grateful to that person because I thought, yes, that was stupid. And so I think you own quickly.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think the challenge then becomes, though, because in that example you used, I mean, kudos to you for doing that,
wow.
But at the same time, there's a fair amount of virtue that you've displayed in owning that publicly.
Yeah.
So my comment is, the more costly the mistake, the harder it is to own. And you need to own it. But that's where I think in our next conversation, I'd love to talk more about self-awareness, and I think some of the resources that we can then have in our identity to help us own some of the more costly mistakes that we might make as leaders.
Okay.